Computer.
Amazing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Heal Yourself Naturally. So happy to see you. We hope Sarah is feeling better. She was a little bit under the weather last week, but we're back and we're here to talk about why are we so tired? A big topic for a lot of people who struggle with sleep, and we want to get it not just sleep, but overall not feeling up to doing things. Your body's catching up with you, whether it be age or whatever the case might be. We want to get down to it. We want to understand the factors of why we get so tired, how to help you. And yeah, let's get it rolling. So Sarah, when you have people come into your practice or to your store, why do you think people are typically so tired?
Well, I do ask a series of questions, and there's a laundry list of things that I typically ask people.
Hmm.
I'm always looking at their face, and so usually, I'm asking, are you getting enough sleep? And if people aren't, they typically have the dark circles under their eyes. So you can usually tell if someone's not getting enough sleep, but that's probably number one and why people are tired. Um, Number two would be stress. Um, Number three would be what's your vitamin D and B12 status? What about your thyroid? Is it under functioning? Are you going through menopause? Are you constipated? So as you can see, there's so many things that can contribute to someone who's so tired. And obviously, too, if you're a new mommy, we know why people are tired when they're new mommies because they're not getting enough sleep.
Or a new daddy, yeah.
Or a new daddy, of course. Because there's boys out there, and
Yeah,
they get tired too. Well, then
right.
if you're a man, I'd be like, well, what's your age? So low testosterone can bring on fatigue as well for men. And so we're really just looking at the person and seeing what their underlying issues may be, and then we're formulating something for them. But because there's so many different reasons why people can be tired, I'm really hesitant to just start giving stimulating herbs to people if they're tired, because then they'll just be tired and wired, and we're not really getting to the root of the problem,
Right.
which could be any one of those things. Oh, and Lyme disease. Lyme disease is another, endocrine or hormonal issue because Lyme disease can affect the hormones and the cortisol and the circadian rhythms. And so I'm usually trying to rule out Lyme disease as a root problem as well. And which is very, Lyme disease is very common in the Northeast, as it is in probably more Northern California where you guys are, Southern California, but like
Right.
Northern California is high endemic for Lyme, and so are we over here in New Hampshire. I've had Lyme since 2008, and for the longest time, I thought the fatigue that I was feeling was because of Lyme disease, which it may have been for a certain amount of time. But what I realized is my B12 was low because I had been on birth control for so long, and other factors that I won't necessarily get into here, not to make things too complex. But as soon as I started taking B12, I was like, oh, there
Right.
I am.
Right.
I'm back.
Even in pregnancies, when you're super tired, I found the B12 is extremely helpful. I remember my last pregnancy, I felt really tired and I called up Hava and she's like, you know what, maybe you should take some B12. And I was taking it every day and I got this huge boost of energy
Hey.
because, my body was depleted and I really needed it. Um, I'd love to hear from you, Hava. What are your what do you see with your clients typically on why they're
Yeah,
so tired?
right. So when I have a client say coming over me or I see them over the Zoom, the first thing that I want to see is the way they stand, their posture. Because many people, when they are having hanging shoulders or they are kind of crooked a little bit, and you see one shoulder it goes up, one shoulder is not in the correct position, then you can, and one of the first things that comes into my mind, there is a lack of blood flow. And when there is a lack of blood flow, this is the first thing that people feel tired, because you need to understand the blood is our energy. This is what flows into every part of our body. And when there is a somewhere blockage, then the blood is no longer flowing. And that's when the people start to having an issues. So this is one of the first thing that I like to see, and next thing that I also want to see the way they walk, because if people don't walk correctly or they wear shoes that are not balanced correctly, that's why grounding shoes are so good, because they really hold you straight the way you are, the way you build up, and not the shoes like you can buy in a fancy store that basically does not hold you correctly. So posture is very important. Next thing that I see, if people come, and it's usually 95%, the people, as I say, full of shit. And people don't understand why I'm saying this. And many actually get angry because they don't want to hear this. But nobody understands that most diseases, they begin in our gut as well. So when the gut is blocked, then obviously there is not blood toward our head. We get tired, we get dizzy, we get upset, moodiness comes. Why? Because our stomach is our brain. So if our stomach is stagnant, if our stomach is full of dirty, crappy stuff from years and years, right? Then we will have this problem. Another thing that it's very important for people to understand, dehydration. You're tired because you're not dehydrated. And many times, I have a people, sometimes I see on Zoom, sometimes closer around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and you see these people and like, whoa, whoa, and like I have to awaken them. And usually what I say, go drink a cup of water with a little bit salt inside, and you'll see how energy will just start flowing. And you just really see people who was before with like a face like like all tired and tired, and they drink water, and then suddenly everything comes to life. Water is very important, and most people are dehydrated, so the brain does not get enough water, and we get in trouble, and people feel tired all the time. This is actually very important topic, dehydration. Another thing that I wanted to also, no, that's it basically. So lack of minerals, our posture, and few other things that are so important. So whenever we covered, as well as Sarah mentioned, there, you have to see each person individually. And the beauty is, as I always say, know yourself, and the inside the truth. We're just giving you the tools. Okay, so
Right.
that's
Right. And now there is the topic of, like Sarah said, if you're not sleeping well at night, people that deal with insomnia.
Mm.
I know that there are a lot of herbs, and it's also very much when you have an overactive brain, right? When your brain is overly active, you tend to be overly exhausted because of it, and you lose sleep. So I'd love to talk about brain food today as well, things that are good for your brain. We have mentioned, Sarah, you've mentioned some diseases or conditions in which can affect your, how tired you are. And we've had many podcasts in the past where we've discussed most of those topics individually. So we've mentioned some of those herbs, but I'd like to go over them again, just quick laundry list. And then also some brain food. So what are some, for some of the things you've mentioned, like for someone who's going through menopause or thyroid issues, or men with prostate issues, like you've mentioned, just give us a couple of herbs for each one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I want to just start by saying too is another question to ask somebody is, when do you feel tired?
Right.
Because sometimes
At what
people have
point of the
energy
day?
in the morning and then they're tired in the afternoon. And we call that the kidney doldrum time, right? In the
Right.
Chinese clock. And also, because Hava, you mentioned dehydration, which that's about 3 o'clock. right? Our caffeine wears off. We're probably dehydrated. Our cortisol takes a dive. And so, how much caffeine are you drinking a day? And also, are you waking up during the night? And then we can kind of decide if it's a certain time during the night what organ is affected. So then we can really gear the herbal protocols toward that organ. But to
Right.
answer your question, as far as like, so if someone's not sleeping well, and they just need a little help to get to sleep or to even to stay to sleep, I suggest people take like a tincture of herbs to their nightstand, and they can take some if they wake up. My favorite, hypnotic, okay, that's what the classification of herbs are to help, you know, bring you down and get you to sleep. They're called hypnotics or sedatives. California poppy is probably my favorite, and it's my favorite because it I find that it works for most people. And my other favorite is skullcap. So that's Scutellaria medea. I mean, Scutellaria lacturifolia, not the Chinese skullcap, which is different. This is also called mad dog skullcap here in the Northeast, and it's a muscle relaxer. So like California poppy and skullcap go well together, and I sometimes mix and match. So that, as far as sleep, is what I would suggest for people. Um, if you have low thyroid, we are getting you on iodine. Now, I like Lugel's iodine. If someone wants to go more natural, we're doing kelp, and I have a tincture of 7 different types of seaweed. So they all get in there and create a synergy. And you can be surprised at how much iodine you can take. We've been conditioned to think that if we get too much iodine we get goiter or whatever, but that's just not true, right, Hava? And
Exactly.
so to really support your thyroid and get yourself out of the sub, usually a lot of women are subclinical, or even men, subclinical hypothyroid, which is low thyroid, which can make you tired. We're doing like 20, 24, 25 milligrams of iodine a day. And that's an easy enough fix in a drop. Or
Is
again,
that not good for someone who has a hyperactive thyroid?
it actually is fine either way.
Yeah, because it's
Fine
it's
either way.
supporting the thyroid regardless.
Right. And
Yeah,
so for hyperthyroid, which can make people tired because they're like tired and wired a lot,
right,
I would do lemon balm on top of that, but and bugleweed, but that's a different thing. But really, it's to simply say, to support the thyroid, iodine is the way to go, or seaweed.
right.
And then as far as men and testosterone, there's several herbs that I use for menopause. Eleuthero, which is your used to be called Siberian ginseng, Eleutherococcus senticosus. That's one of my favorites for increasing testosterone. Morapuma, and what is the other one? There's a few, Yohimbe, um, and just like sarsaparilla. Just regular old sarsaparilla works really well too. So it really, I kind of mix and match, and it depends on what's going on with the guy. And as far as women in menopause, there's a lot of herbs that I use for that. My favorites are probably red clover and wild yam. And a lot of women, when they go through menopause, they just are just like exhausted. Like your metabolism slows down, and it's not always thyroid related. It's just like everything kind of slows down, and you're on a slower gear. Uh and so these herbs come in really nicely to help balance menopausal um, issues and hormones. And I can't say it enough that you don't need to go on hormones to support your your lack of hormones when you go through menopause. What else? What else? Was that
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've got, well, I just want, there's so many reasons why we're tired, right? But you mentioned some key ones that a lot of people can relate to. So I just wanted to put it out there that there are simple solutions to support your body while going through this. And like Kava simplified it, things like not moving your bowels, proper posture, circulation issues, things that can be easily rectified for people who are overly tired because they're either hunched over the computer all day. So it's, about finding a balance in your life as well. And then as simple as reducing stress. So taking a step back, doing an hour a day of something that you might enjoy just to kind of disconnect from your life in a sense. You know what I mean? From your daily responsibilities that may cause you stress. So finding an hour for yourself in the day to do something that is more relaxing. Doesn't have to be meditating, right? It
Right.
it's great to meditate because then you breathe more. Breathing is a huge thing. Lack of oxygen to the brain
Absolutely.
when you're not breathing properly. But you can always work up to something that big, because meditating is pretty big. You have to have a lot of patience to learn how to meditate, because there's a way to do it correctly, right? Okay, Hava, let's hear some things on how to, combat with those simple, extremely the things that everybody goes through that I've mentioned of what you said. So, for example, like proper posture, what can someone do?
Right. So, okay, first of all, I like to simplify everything, as you see, because I try to make for everyone easy, understandable, and so that way they can right away implement everything that we are teaching them. So one of the first things that I always suggest is cleaning up the bowels. And why I'm saying this, it's because it's never enough. It's never enough to understand that if you don't move your bowels, you're going to have a sluggish thoughts, you're gonna feel not good. So how you do this, you can use, if even you can go on my Instagram page, and on the Instagram I give 2 recipes how to move your bowels. There's 2 remedies that you can make them today, and there's candies that you can chew on them and then will open up and will start moving the bowels. The second thing is to getting my bowel food formula that really feeds and helps to remove toxins out of the system. And then it's so important that I created this for children, for the babies, for everyone. Okay, so that's one thing. Next thing that I would suggest in the easy ones is to start. Well, you mentioned about meditation, and I'm actually saying when you feel tired, drink some water and let's start clapping. This is something I'm so much now passionate about, especially that I'm now working with someone from Europe. He is a master in phytologin, which is a unique exercise where you clap over certain meridians, and not just meridians, you clap over organs that are malfunctioning. And you're basically scanning whole your entire body. And see, we usually say, oh, I have a headache, oh, I didn't sleep enough. So let's start just simple massaging. What we are afraid is we're really afraid of our body, and that's why we give authority to somebody else, when in reality it's our job to take care of ourselves. So what we need to do, you have some headache, put some essential oils, and let's start massaging, and let's start feeling, I feel here a little bit tightness, because when there is not blood flow, then you right away you have a sickness, you have a disease, you have something, right? Stagnation. So why not to just massage it? Just massage it, go over your stomach and just feel your stomach. Ooh, I have a pain here, I didn't know. And start massaging, and that's how you create your own healing, just by learning about yourself. Because by the end, me, Sarah, Nicole will give you all the best advices. But if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, when you're not going to really say, my hands are my medicine, and you start working your way up, understanding how's your boobs are built up, how's your prostate is built up, and stuff like that. And this is how I'm so passionate about, because it's something you can do right now. So clapping exercise, stretching, breathing, right? It doesn't take so long. I had recently a case of someone who's very arthritic, barely even can hold a pen. And the first thing that I said, you know what? Let's change the way you think, and just lie down in the bed and just start stretching before you get out of the bed. So now you start your day on a positive thought. Instead, wake up, I didn't sleep at night, I suffered, now I'm gonna have a horrible day. No, you open your eyes and just look at the positive. And something that we also forgot to mention is our environment. If we live in a toxic environment, we shut down our stomachs. And when the stomach is shut down, our head is shut down. And we want to sleep all the time. And we complain and complain and complain is because we basically are not, we are in an environment that is so toxic that just we want to get out from here, just not to be in this area. So that's another way to look at. Yeah. So
So what are
I
some
don't know.
herbs that, for people like that who are more anxious or rather like depressed, right? There's some herbs that are calming.
Right. So,
Um,
so Sarah mentioned an amazing herbs, and I'm more into let's bring a blood flow toward the area, right? So I'm more concerned about that. So the cayenne is my favorite. So it's not
I know,
here
but I'm
with
asking about
and
anxiety.
anxiety. Okay. So
Anxiety and or depression, right? Because there's some herbs
right,
that are mood lifters and can like nervines that can calm your nerves.
right. So that's
And
what
so
you need.
I want to
Okay.
ask specifically about that because you mentioned, toxic environments can help, relieving yourself from that stressful or toxic environments that can cause anxiety, that can make you feel a
Right.
little more tired. So I want help with that.
Okay, so passion flower is a very good one. Then if somebody goes through some hard times, as I mentioned before, environmental even, let's say, or if someone passed away or something horrible happened, whatever, roses are very good. Drinking roses and smelling roses and being around roses are absolutely incredible. Lavender is very good. Lavender is very calming. Taking a lavender bath or rubbing yourself in the salt and lavender is very good. Then other lemon balm.
Yeah.
Lemon balm is very good, and I usually would suggest this to people. Yeah, and as the Sarah mentioned, the skull cap and all these are absolutely incredible. Yeah, so
What
this is the
about
one.
for sleeping? I know lemon balm, skull cap is great. So what would you suggest if you're someone who has trouble sleeping? Is there an additional herb you'd like to add?
Well, milky oats are good too. They are wonderful, but it's good in combinations. So many people don't know that Sarah makes a lot of different herb combination as well as I am. But if you, let's say, cannot, and you want to have something for today, then go to the health food store and buy from traditional medicinal tea. They have a nice nighty night
Sleepy time, I
blends,
think, right? Or
sleepy time or nighty
night.
night or
Yeah, something
whatever.
like
But
that.
it's very good ones that and also tulsi. We forgot tulsi is very good. Also helps to sleep. Roses are incredible. I don't know, but roses are jumping a lot. So,
Chamomile.
and
Chamomile is
chamomile,
wonderful.
exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
Linden's a nice one too.
Also,
Right.
trying not to, I know this is just obviously obvious to us or, some people, but not eating a heavy meal before you go to sleep.
Oh yeah, that's obvious.
Because
People
you
should
will
not
definitely
eat or
have a
drink.
hard time sleeping,
Yeah.
or not even, you may fall asleep for the entire night, but you won't get a restful sleep. And there's a
And,
big difference.
and you brought up, I'm glad you brought that up because I have little notes that I'm putting down here as Hava speaks or you speak.
Yeah,
Jog my
please go
memory and
ahead.
stuff. But as far as like, it's a really good point because what happens if you have a heavy meal and you try to go to sleep? Well, your body slows down when you sleep. So then the
Right,
food stays in your gut for a very long time, and your liver has to process all that as your body digests it. It doesn't get a chance to do the work that it needs to do when you don't have food in your stomach. Your liver does most of its jobs at night. So if you're going to overburden it with food, your liver is going to be stressed out. And that really does also contribute to people's fatigue. And
right.
so that speaks to supporting your liver to detoxify your body. So then what
Love
occurs
it.
if this isn't a normal thing, you eat and then go to bed,
Late. Yeah.
your toxin load is probably pretty high.
Right.
And so then we're using herbs like burdock root, dandelion root, nettle leaf, uh, you
I'm
know, just
psychologically yawning right now. I'm not even tired, but for some reason I can't
and
stop
one of my
yawning.
other favorites is calendula. And so maybe you need that tea, Nicole.
No, you know what? Absolutely. I sleep, but I'm not a restful sleeper recently because I have a lot on my mind or whatever it is, right? So there's a difference. There's different types of sleeps, right? You could be sleeping for a balanced amount of hours, but are you getting the is your body properly resting? So
Right.
like last night I ate late because I went out for a barbecue, and even though I slept, I didn't get a proper sleep because my body was, at, it was trying to break down meat from a barbecue.
Yeah. Right.
And
So yeah,
it's so incredible on that note that you're mentioning. And thank you, all of you, for mentioning this, but it's very important. Yes, the liver is working very hard, and people whose liver is already toxic and they cannot fall asleep, then for you, a handy exercise, it's not exercise, but it's something that you should do. You fill out the rubber hot bottle and you apply this over the liver and go to sleep, and you're going to sleep like a baby because liver likes warmness. So
warm.
it's
Yeah,
very good. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And another thing, that on that note, if let's say people who ate a meal at night later and they're going to wake up in the morning and they're going to feel pain in the back,
right,
and there's also connection between this, the food that's been sitting there, and then it's building up, and there is you didn't eliminate what was before, and then you start having a pain and you feel, oh, my back hurts. Well, that's because of the toxicity we had before. So it's good to know too.
Yeah.
right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I just thought it's something to mention because the simple things can even if you're someone who doesn't have these issues that are hormonal or thyroid related, or you're going to the bathroom well and exercising and eating well, but then you're someone who eats out late or eats late at home because of your busy schedule, then you won't feel rested throughout the day. So it's sometimes the simple thing, like Kava mentioned, or I know you didn't say exactly, but people with poor posture should visit a chiropractor.
They do.
So,
They
yeah, yeah,
should
yeah.
visit, or they
They should
can do
visit a
stretching.
right,
And they should lie down on a table that it's straight. And in the best way to see how's your circulation is if you lie down on a table or chair straight and put one leg up high and one leg down, and you'll see. If you cannot even do that, that means you have such a blockage in all entire area, starting from your uterus all the way to your stomach, to your heart, and obviously to your shoulders and toward your head. Yeah, so
right, right. And sometimes the most beautiful exercise I feel like for that is yoga, because for the years that I did yoga, I think I did yoga for about 10, 12 years before I took a nice break from it. And I was doing it like multiple times a week. I never felt so energized in my life, you know, just because I was standing up. So, my posture was perfect. And I
You're
was,
flowing. You were
yeah,
flowing.
I was able to flow, I was able to move easily. So I think it's great, even to just do some basic stretches at home that, are yoga stretches. You don't have to go to a studio of some sorts, although I think it's great. And don't be discouraged if you go to a yoga class, if it's your first, second time and you're not into it. There are different types of yogas, different types of classes, and one may not speak to you. For example, like I was doing it for 12 years and then I switched up a place because my teacher wasn't teaching here in the US anymore. They moved to Turkey. And it was so hard for me to find a yoga that I liked because he taught a certain type of yoga that is not very known around here. And so you just have to find what you like. Eventually, Pilates is a great exercise for men and women. I know that a lot of men think that it's not for them as well, but such a beautiful exercise. Yeah, what else do you guys want to talk about in
Well,
terms of why am I
just
tired?
to lead into that as far as meditation and having a good yoga practice. And this is about, core breathing,
Right.
oxygenating the blood, getting blood to the brain. But it's also wonderful for stress.
Right.
And, many people are tired because they're stressed out. Now, stress is obviously situational, usually.
Mhm.
It can be constitutional, which means some people are just born stress cases,
Stressed out,
you know,
freaked out,
or they've had
nutcases. Yeah.
trauma. Yeah, and they've had trauma.
Neurotics.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but
No, no,
or they've
I'm
had,
messing. Even I'm a stressed out person, especially after once I had children. Everything is
well,
just like,
the type A
you know,
people, and so but it's usually situational. It could be trauma related, so then we're dealing with that with Reiki and stuff. But to deal with the stress, it's hard if you have a stressful job.
right.
And if you have a stressful job, and this is what I mentioned to people, you can't always change your job, but you can change the way you react to your job. And so what you could do simply is put your little protective bubble around you before you go into work and have a mindset. Do your breathing exercises, do your yoga, bring in your little bubble, carry sage or hematite in your pocket or your favorite crystal to remind you to breathe, to focus, to ground yourself. And then you've got this bubble that all that negativity can't get in. And it's amazing if you do this kind of visual work on a daily basis, how much it really helps. It might sound woo woo. Look at you with your little bags and stuff. That's great, and they're little reminders. And when I started doing this work on myself way before I started helping other people with it, and it really helped me release trauma that I didn't realize I was holding on to, which made me an anxious person. So
Right.
I want to start with that. But then I want to go into, really helping manage stress herbally. And there's a lot of really nice herbs to help do that. And it's not just cannabis. Everybody talks about cannabis. Cannabis, and I don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful plant and it helps considerably a certain
Yeah,
portion of
you may
people.
be less stressed out, but then you become way more aggravated the longer you're smoking it.
Well, and I don't even mean the THC. I mean like just the CBD, like the hemp,
Yeah.
which is all cannabis. And I would never have somebody smoke pot if they were stressed out. But excuse me, but CBD is wonderful and it
Right.
does help. But an apothecary is full of other herbs that we use for stress, and they're called adaptogens, and they
Right.
help your body deal with stress. That's literally what they do. That's what their purpose is on this planet, is to help. And who knew that, God or whomever created all this stuff, right? Life, who knew that the plant world could help a human deal with stress? We have all these receptors in our bodies that take in plant chemicals. We've evolved with the plants. It's an amazing thing. And
Right.
so some of my favorite herbs for stress, well, you mentioned Tulsi, which is holy basil, and that can be taken daily. And that's considered an adaptogen. Of course, we want to kind of stay, now there's different types of adaptogens. There's stimulating adaptogens and calming ones. And you can mix and match them, which is fine. I tend to like ashwagandha and schizandra as my calming adaptogens. And I really like eleuthero. It's more stimulating, but it does normalize the stress response. And it gives you more endurance later. And as you take these herbs daily, they just continue to work better in the body. And then it can really help with endurance and energy. So you can really address that stress response with the yoga or the meditation, the mindful work, and then also address it physically with herbs. And excuse me, and there's just so many other wonderful adaptogens that we can use. And yeah, you don't have to go and smoke a joint to de-stress.
You could though.
You could though. I mean, it's
No,
okay.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's okay. Some people like to unwind with a glass of wine at the end of the night. Some people just want to smoke a joint. I'm just saying that both can be harmful in the future if you are dependent on it, just like everything, right? These
Right.
herbs that we're mentioning are not bad if you take them on a daily basis. Okay, any other thing? I mean, I did like what you said about building that bubble around you in the morning and setting that mindset that you won't let anything penetrate that bubble. And that has you know, you can have that mindset, but don't get deterred if on the first day someone bursts your bubble, right? Because boundary building takes a long time. You can have your boundary, but whether you are absolute in that decision when you are setting it and you don't let people push that boundary of yours, time and practicing it and practicing your responses to people, that's how you will move forward and actually, you know, change, because people do change and how you handle things can definitely change. And it's about building that line and not you not letting others cross it and you not crossing it yourself once you've set that boundary, right? So it does take
Absolutely.
time, but I think it's a beautiful piece of advice that a lot of people need to make, um, you know, because it sucks to have others affect us so much,
And there's
even if
always going to
it's
be people around you that you're
that
not
are
going to like.
affecting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or they
absolutely.
don't like you or whatever the
Or
case
even
may be.
people that you love that affect you and increase your stress levels. But it's how you react, right? Your reaction to a situation,
Yeah.
that can
Ask
affect.
yourself, ask yourself, is this my stuff or is this their stuff? And
Am
if
I
it's not,
making it my stuff? Yeah.
which is what
Right.
you spoke to as far as boundaries. So
Right. That's a
important.
boundary.
People don't understand, so not people, but some people don't know what it is to have a healthy boundary.
Right.
And and
And
it's
it's all
like,
about setting them constantly as you evolve as a person, as your job evolves, you know, different projects that you take on. How much are you going to let people cross that boundary that you've made? Okay, so let's think. I want to discuss, um,
Maybe
yeah.
energy, how to bring energy.
there you go.
No?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Well, because
exercise is a big
we are
thing.
falling asleep, I think.
No, not at all. I think
I'm just,
exercise is a big thing. Like you said, being hydrated, that is a
no, I
huge
wanted to
factor.
cover, agree. I would just wanted to add a few other things for people to know. Let's say, okay, you wake up tired and you know, you understand maybe you didn't sleep, but we still have to go through the day, right? So I wanted to add a little bit about some energizing herbs, so that way you'll have on hand.
All
And
right.
one of the ones is a chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, it's absolutely amazing. It sends blood, it sends oxygen toward your blood. So if you want to think and work correctly and you want to have a good day, so chlorophyll is very good, but you have to be careful. The ones who cannot take chlorophyll, which people who have too much iron in their body, but usually chlorophyll is one of my favorite ones. Another one that I usually suggest is something that it's known before, but it's one of the first synthetic medications that came into the world, and which is a metallite blue. It's absolutely works on your mitochondria, and it's incredible, right? It sends oxygen and it makes you to think clearer. Obviously, it's not again for everyone, so everyone can start with the small dosages and see how it works with them. Another one will be the cayenne that will bring blood flow, circulate. You suddenly wake up, right? And we had an incredible story to share to our listeners that did someone, Sarah, you should hear this. It's incredible.
The
Somebody
beautiful
was saved
story. Yeah. I'll tell it.
by the
It's
cayenne.
very
Yeah.
personal to me. So I got off the phone with my mom yesterday and she told me that her uncle had a heart attack. And it was a very severe heart attack. And so I called, my aunt and cousins and stuff, like, to get the 411, and no one answered me. Finally, one of my cousins called me back and we're talking, and she said that it was 100% clot. They're happy that he's even alive. It's a miracle. And I said, okay, you know what? It's, you know, his lifestyle has to change. Things have to change. I don't know if he'll be up for it, but maybe he should carry some cayenne on him just to have on hand. She goes, stop right there. Okay. A few days ago, I went on Hava's Instagram and I was going through all of her videos and I came upon the cayenne video, and she mentioned how it can save someone's life if they're having a heart attack. And so I ran to the kitchen. I got cayenne pepper. I wasn't even thinking. I didn't put it in water. I just took a teaspoon of it and shoved it in his mouth. And I saved his life because they told me he was supposed to die. And yeah. And so
That's
something like
incredible.
cayenne can really pump that blood in your system. It's really incredible. I know that when I start my day with like a warm cup of cayenne, like water and a little sprinkle of cayenne, even some lemon juice,
Yeah.
I feel
And
so energized. I don't need coffee. I feel amazing throughout the day. I know a lot of people that I've suggested it to that have the same response, that if they add a little bit of
incredible.
cayenne
And
to
it's
their
so
morning.
simple. And it's so simple. Anybody can get this stuff anywhere, right?
And everybody usually has cayenne pepper in their pantry. That's what's so beautiful about it.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Another one is walnuts.
Oh,
Walnuts, they look exactly the shape
like a
of
brain,
our
right?
brain.
yeah.
So I grew up in Georgia. I born in Georgia, and Georgia is the place where there's walnuts all around us. So I remember my grandfather, and Georgian dishes, they almost each of them have walnuts, either in the chicken, either with eggplants, or either in a I don't know, in
A
egg, in the
stew, yeah.
cakes, just everywhere. It's like even in like some kind of desserts that also have walnuts. Basically, walnuts all around. But I don't know. It's really reflect their if they're really smart. I don't know, but I do know that they lived up till hundreds, and so walnut is good, and they always have the sharp mind. I don't remember people who forget at age 40 how old are, which will now happens with us. So what did I say? Oh, I have a brain fart. Sorry. I have some walnuts. Anyways, omegas. We should say also, well, walnuts is a part of the good oils,
Good.
but
Yeah.
omegas is good, right? Omega 3, 6, 7, and 9. That it's good to have a combination and not to have just one kind. And many people can take fish, and many people can take vegan. I suggest vegan because this is what I prefer. I'm not sure about the fish though. Then another thing that I mentioned is rosemary essential oil, right? Rosemary essential oil is incredible. And the B vitamins, like you mentioned before, but use a B complex, which
Right.
is much better. It comes all the Bs in combinations. And when the people start taking, oh, take just B3, oh, just take the B6. Oh, that's not a good idea because you can take too much of one
Well, they work
and
better
then
together, right, Hava?
right, right. That's what I said before. Okay, B12 is very good, and but I would now when I go further and I learn more, and each time we involve with our, we work with our clients and we see what's good for them, for us. And I do figure out that it's better to have a wholesome state. So using B in a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And make sure the B is methylated,
exactly.
which
And
is
my
a whole different thing as far as, if you don't know what methylation
not
is,
synthetics, exactly.
it's basically many of us are considered undermethylators. These are typically the kids that are more susceptible to like vaccine reactions and other people, it's not just vaccines, but it's other medications. You basically have issues detoxifying. So if you take a B12 that isn't methylated and you are an undermethylator, it could actually make you feel like you're going to crawl out of your skin. It could be
Right.
too overstimulating. So, I mean, I take a methylated B, and that's been my
Do you know
energy
which is
savior.
your favorite company, Sarah?
So I like the trifolamin, which is Designs for Health. That's the one I use. And I also suggest people do Mega Food, the methylated B complex. And that one's relatively inexpensive. And I've tried it and it doesn't bother my body. And I think that one's fine too. I just use the trifolamin because my doctor recommended that one. And
I
so,
use Premier Research Labs, and I like because they also don't radiate their products, and they come in a fermented form that can be taken by children and by adults. So basically they have two kinds. One is in encapsulated, one in a liquid. I don't take in capsules usually. So the liquid, it's so easy. You just put in a cup of with some, I found to take it in kombucha, it really takes the flavor off and you just shut it quickly and it works amazingly. Another herb I wanted to mention is reishi. Purple reishi is absolutely incredible for brain health, makes you to become smarter. So everyone who wants to be smarter, what you need better than some
Right. And
walnuts
a
and purple
well-fed
reishi.
brain, a well-fed brain, right? We call it brain food in a sense. So a well-supported and fed brain will help you sleep better so that you can have a wholesome sleep, even if you are, like I mentioned, sleeping but you're not sleeping well or fully. Your body is not fully relaxed. So when you are feeding your brain properly and it's getting the proper amount of oxygen and blood flow and hydration, and you're incorporating these minerals and vitamins into your diet, then you are way more likely to sleep better. So all in all, I think we've covered like a very good amount of things here.
We have,
Um,
and I can actually just add a little bit more because we have a little bit more time, if you don't mind.
no, yeah, a few more minutes. I wanted to see what else you guys had to tie it off
Yeah. Okay. So,
since our closing statements are like 25 minutes.
yeah, we'll close for a while.
Yeah.
So, like the gut health, it's gut health is super important. And we
Right.
mentioned that at the start of the show, and so we might as well bookend it with the end of the show. But before I do that, I want to talk about kidney health because if your kidneys aren't working optimally, that can also make you tired. And so I've seen this before. Things like cystitis, which is inflammation, and typically that's in the bladder, but it can affect kidneys. Many people are not drinking enough water, so we're back to the kidneys. Okay, so kidney health is important. But back to the gut, you know, a lot of people are chronically constipated, even though may have a bowel movement every day. If your transit time is more than 24 hours, you've got to do something different. And so what happens, transit time is basically the time it takes food to go from the mouth out the other end, out the rectum. And you want 12 to 24 hours. If you're pushing further than, I mean, 24 is even a long time, but it's not, you know, completely, horrible. But some people are so constipated, they don't realize that they have like 4 days worth of food in their guts. And you had mentioned this too, Hava. So and how important, all disease begins in the gut. And it's not just because of digestion, it's because of good microbiome and all that jazz. And that's going to
Exactly.
affect your brain because it's that gut brain connection. So I just kind of want to talk about herbs that are really wonderful to normalize digestion and get things moving out of your body so your liver's not overburdened. Because what happens is if you're storing basically feces in your gut, your body is reabsorbing all the toxins that it took so long to get out, that the liver, if it sees a toxin it can't get rid of, it flags it. So then it just keeps going around and around and around. And then it eventually the liver can deal with it. But if it's overburdened, it's not gonna for a while. So my favorite herbs for digestion, and it can be super simple. Many of these herbs grow right around you in my area. I'm not completely familiar with, I believe you guys in Southern California are like subtropical. Well, you're desert, aren't you there? It's very dry.
Desert, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my laundry list of the favorite herbs that I like to use for digestion, not necessarily, number one. I'm not saying them in order of my favorites necessarily, but burdock root is excellent to help move the liver, and it's full of minerals. So we're going to hit on that mineral piece. If you're deficient in minerals, it's going to support excreting bile from the gallbladder. It's going to, and obviously the liver, and it's going to help move things through really nicely. It's slightly sweet. It's not super bitter. I find that it's good for most constitutions, except if you're really, really like cold. If you're a cold person, which means if you run cold, if you're super dry. Dandelion root, that's one of my favorites for people. I'm just mindful if there's a latex allergy, sometimes that can be irritating to people with a latex allergy. Dandelion's a little bit more bitter and it's stronger, but it certainly does the job. Plantain. Plantain leaf, which is Plantago major. And this leaf grows everywhere in the Northeast. I harvest it all year round. You can eat
It
it.
grows here too, everywhere.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
It's such an easy plant to harvest.
Yeah,
And
by us, I'm sorry to disturb you, but by us, if you pick up from it's probably full of shit of dogs and peas.
It's
you
all over
don't eat
our
the sheet. Don't eat
grass.
the
Yeah.
sheet. No. So you want obviously to harvest it from a clean source, never in parking lots or dog parks. Find a
This is
clean
by
source.
us in the
But
city.
the leaf can be, and I have some videos on my YouTube channel and my other Facebook page. Um, and I'm talking about plantain and I'm harvesting plantain and you just dry it. I usually put it in a cookie sheet and then fluff it every day and then it dries and then I cut it and I put it in teas usually. You can tincture it too. Um, those three, plantain, absolutely anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. It's going to help clean up the gut and it's going to help move things through, help build that mucosal layer. And then marshmallow root. And I
Mhm.
love marshmallow root for not only kidneys, but the gut. And that kind of goes like with slippery elm too. Marshmallow and slippery elm tend to do well together. And it's really it's what we call it's got mucilage
Like a
or it's
slippery, mucusy or
mucilaginous. Yeah,
yeah.
and it will actually help again like with the plantain rebuild that mucosal layer in your guts because you want it slimy. Many people are dry. And so, constipated.
Everybody's dry. Almost
Everybody's
everybody
dry,
is,
right?
right?
So these are
We
the
have,
herbs that I use probably most often in my apothecary for gut problems.
yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that.
And I add aloe vera
Oh, I
on
love
top
that
of
one too. Yeah.
aloe vera. And if we already mentioned them, prickly ash, we have here plenty growing, which is also
Oh, really?
incredible one. Yes,
Do
it's
you have
actually very interesting.
do you have prickly
Plenty.
pear cactus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you
We have a
use
Yes.
lot.
that?
Everywhere.
Do you eat
Yep.
it and use it?
Yes, it's absolutely
One of
incredible.
my
And you
There's an
eat
favorite. It's
just
one of
the
my
herbalist.
favorite
seeds.
fruits to eat.
There's an herbalist using it for like a to
Almost everything. For
remove
hair.
to remove mycotoxins from the body.
Yes, I've heard a
Like,
lot of good
ooh,
things. Yes, it's
lovely.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you covered about the bowels, and I want to finish my thoughts on top of what you said, but not going to go back into the bowels, but more speak about the
The
skin.
deep dark depths of the bowels. You want to go back there?
Yeah, no, we want to keep it easy for people. I'm just going to add them so that way they will have a full entire picture.
She has
You
to have
cover
at
the
least every
bowel.
class talking about the bowels. She said her
But you
piece.
got to.
Moving on.
No, I tell you what, because people don't understand, and some people, like, I was in the show previously before, and I see people speaking about this doctor who suggested spraying something into their nose, the silver spraying in the nose, and everybody's, oh, X clear, I'm gonna clean this. What people don't understand, and I really want, it's not that I don't want people get upset or something, but I do. Nobody understands that if you have a plugged bowels and you're not moving them, okay, so you have a here mucus coming. Okay, so now you basically put a quick fix. You spray it inside your nose, the silver will help to clear out the area. But where the mucus will gonna go? So basically, okay, I no longer have a mucus here settled in my sinuses, right? I no longer cough, but where it's went. So you basically, instead, the body telling you, let the garbage come out from your nose, you now pushed it from there to go inside and then stuck in your stomach. That's how people don't understand. It's like so simple, but we're trying to complicate the matter. That's why we speak so much, and we will continue to
I wish we
speak
had
till we're still
animations like the
alive.
yellow school bus, right? Why can't one of us animate things on this like while we're speaking?
I'm not that
Because
talented.
yeah,
But
like
okay, so
they simplified things for children back then, and I feel like the body is simple,
and
and we
so
overcomplicate it sometimes.
so let's cover the I want to speak about the skin health, because we eat, drink, and poop from our skin, and many people are complaining that they have a smell or stuff like that. It's because we are clogged, and it's the same thing. When the skin is not breathing correctly, then we also keeping the toxicity inside, which reflects our body. And we spoke about our head, but we forgot the stuff that in the hair, all this greasy stuff, the oils, everything. It shows you the health of your head, right? So the same thing applies to your skin. So I would suggest people to scrub their body daily. Take a nice loofah and really scrub yourself well, and touch the areas that you usually don't do. Scrub, work, and remove this toxic matter. Another very good thing is a bath that you can take, a bath made with a turpentine. And this is something incredible, because I also learned this amazing technique. I think I mentioned this many classes before, but it's called skipidar bath. It's a famous Russian doctor who found these ways of detoxification our body, opening the channels through the skin. And we've seen amazing results. People who have a foggy head, who've been on medications, just go in the bath and put some magnesium or some Epsom salt, and then just put a small, like a cap of a turpentine oil. Just make sure you buy a good turpentine oil, not the one that you use in paint, but a real turpentine oil. And then put it into bath and just go in and let your body do the magic. Open up this stagnation, this toxicity. You understand? Because by the end, it doesn't matter what we hop. We're all thinking about, oh, let me hop. It's not what I hop, it's what I remove. When I remove, then I can hop, because then my body will say, oh, thank you, now I can absorb this. But when we are so, everything is full of toxicity, it's not good. And I wanted to everyone to tell you that I'm starting this new program. Hopefully it will work. Every morning I want everyone to come and join me on clapping exercise. It takes about 10-15 minutes. It's called scanning. You wake up in the morning, and we just go over the scanning our body and
We should
learning
end with
about this
clapping.
technique. Yeah, we should start. Let's do it.
Okay.
We can do over our head, and then we go in the back, and then we go to our face. See, we go here, and then we clap here, and then we just go over meridians. See, we can clap, and when we clap here, we react all over our area. You spoke about the kidneys. And today I made an exercise where I'm sitting and my feet are grounded
I
in the
saw that.
ground.
It looks
Okay,
owie.
it is owie, but you know what the master said? He said we are basically like a tree. Our feet is our roots.
Yes.
So when you put when you stand on tippy toes, you basically can feel now how's your roots, are they healthy or not. That's why it's ouchy, because now we know that we are have somewhere a blockage. So if in the roots there is a blockage, it doesn't matter what we do, it's not going to work, right? The blockage will always create problems. So opening up by sitting on your tippy toes and slowly bringing to the trunk, which is our tree, and to the branches. It's absolutely
Very
incredible
nice.
just to think this way. It's so simple, so doable. People, wake up. We love you.
We love you all. Yes, we really do. We thank our viewers. Thanks for everybody for joining us live. We're finally able to figure that out. Thanks to our tech genius over here, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she needed that extra week off while she was
I
not
know,
feeling
right?
good to figure everything out. Listen, I still can't figure that out, so kudos to you. Um, next episode, we're gonna talk about parasites. Yeah, everybody's favorite topic. A lot of people
Yeah.
are doing parasite cleanses nowadays. We want to give you the tools to understand. Parasites will always be in your body, right? We know that. But we want to give you the tools on how to eliminate when they are overly active in the body, how to get rid of them, the type of cleanses you need, the type of herbs you need, what to food to avoid, what to do. We're all about dishing it out to you. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time on Heal Yourself Naturally. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.